Good day, French Baboon. We are back in our Factorio walkthrough. In the last episode, we started to produce steel together, and with that out of the way, now it is time to start to produce military science packs. Before we do that, I would just like to take a few minutes with you to review all the changes that I made on the base since the last episode. So let's have a look. Something that you might already have noticed is that I have added big poles, lamps and radars to all of our blocks. That way it's nice and crisp, and we will have electricity and light wherever we work on our base. And to simplify our work doing that, I have created a blueprint that I have called 100 by 100 block V1. If you want to reuse it, you will find it in the description of the video, and this will save us a lot of time when we want to expand our base. So for example, I can take it, and let's say I want to expand the base east. I just have to align it with the previous block, and then press Shift left click, and here we go. Let's place another one. And if you just want to place a ghost, you don't even have to be next to the place you want to place it. You can do it directly on the map. So let's see here. You could just align it here on the map, and then same thing, press Shift left click, and here we go. So in the previous episode we unlocked the next tier of poles, but I didn't demonstrate what it does. So until now we only had small electric pole. Not only do they have a small supply area and a small reach, but they are also produced out of wood, something that we cannot produce in our factory. So we are going to all replace them with medium poles, because as you can see, they have a bigger supply area, they also have a bigger reach. They are just better than small poles. And for the big poles, as you can see, they have a long reach, but they have a very small supply area. So what that means is that big poles are the perfect tool to extend our network over long distances. Alright, with that explained, let me just throw away our poles, and then we are going to get started with the military science pack. Let me also select our next research. What can we select here? The engine is probably a good one. You can see it's a dependency for a lot of research. It's also a dependency for the blue science, and it's also a prerequisite for cars and trains, and we will want that. So now, let's have a look to the military science. It's fairly more complicated than the previous ones. We need 3 items, piercing rounds, grenade, and 2 walls. And as you can see, piercing rounds require steel. That's why we had to do that first. And so, producing wall is going to be the simplest thing. We will just need stone bricks, a lot of them. I'm still shooting for 100 science per minute. However, I know that we are currently not mining enough stones, but that's something that we are going to solve later. To produce grenades, we will need coal and iron plate. Nothing special about that, we already have all of that. And then finally, probably the most complicated one is going to be producing piercing rounds. So for that we will need copper plates, steel plates that we already have, and firearm magazine that, if I remember correctly, only need iron plates. Yep. The engine research is already finished. Let's select the next one. Let's see. You know what? Let's unlock the car. Once we have the engine, it will let us move around the map much quicker. And so now, let's try to figure out our ratios. So if we want 100 military science per minute, so you can see there is a ratio of 1 to 2 for the grenades and the piercing rounds. And we also have a ratio of 1 to 1 between the walls and the science. So one assembler is going to produce 6 packs per minute. So because I want 100 science or more per minute, I'm going to place 18 of them. So 18 of them is going to be 108 science per minute. So we have a ratio of 1 to 2 for grenades and piercing rounds. So that means we will need 54 of them per second. And of course for the walls, because we have the 1-to-1 ratio, we will need 108 walls per minute. So now that we have the requirement for grenades, piercing rounds and walls, let's see how that translates for our primary resources like plates and coal and etc. Let's try to figure out the grenades first. Grenades needs coal and plates. We first need to figure out how many assemblers we will need. So if we need to produce 54 grenades per second, and one assembler is going to produce 3.75 of them, that means we'll need 14.4 assemblers. Let's run that up to 15. And so let's start with that. I'm going to place the inputs and the assemblers. Let's see what I'm going to research next. At some point we will want to have solar energy. It's not going to be now, but we might as well research it already. So let's see. So we will need coal and plates. So we will have 2 inputs, and we are going to merge that into one lane. I'm just going to put a splitter because I already know that we will need some iron plates for the rounds, but the lane on the left is going to be merged with the coal. And something that takes into consideration is that one half lane of coal might not be enough to support 15 assemblers of grenades. So let's have a look. So one assembler is going to consume 0.625 core per second. And if we multiply that by 15, we already know that a half lane on a yellow belt can only support 7.5 items per second. And yes, that's not going to work. 9.3 core per second cannot be supported on a half belt. So we could upgrade the belt to a red belt. That would be enough. But what I'm going to do here is just have two belts side by side and use long inserters instead. So that should be fine. Let's place the assemblers now. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 15. So now let's select the recipe. As always, do a shift right click on an assembler to copy the recipe and then shift left click to paste it. Now we can start to place the inserters. For the input, we will need both normal inserters and long range inserters. Let's place the normal one first. We will also need normal inserters for the output. We are going to output the grenades on the right. And now let's place the long range inserters. Let's drag the two input belts. And now we add power. As I said earlier, I'm not going to use small poles anymore. And the good thing with medium poles is that you can place assemblers 2x2 and just put medium poles between them, and that's going to cover all the area around the assemblers. Now the output is going to go this way. And that's it. The last thing that we need to do for the grenades is to connect the inputs. So let's do that. On the belt on the left, we want to place core. And on the right, we will want to place iron plates. I already took from the fourth iron plates belt just before, so this time I'm going to take from the third one just to keep things balanced. And now let's go back, let's have a look if it works. Oops, I made a mistake here. That's much better. And now let's have a look. It's already taking the core. While we are here, let's start our next research. This time I'm going to do the landfill. As its name implies, it lets you put landfill on water, and that's very useful in some maps because it lets you reclaim space. And so while we are here, let's try to figure out our ratios for the rounds. So let's have a look. There is a 1:1 ratio for the rounds, the steel, and a 1:5 ratio with the copper. And one assembler is going to produce 10 piercing rounds per minute. So if we want 100 science per minute, we need 54 piercing rounds. And so that means we will need 6 assemblers of them. So now let's try to find out how many assemblers do we need for the normal rounds. As I just said, it's a 1:1 ratio. And each assembler is going to produce 30 rounds per minute. We need 54 of them. So that means we'll need 2 assemblers for the rounds. So to recap, 6 assemblers for the piercing rounds and 2 assemblers for the normal rounds. So let's first place the one for the rounds. No, that's not the right place. I want to place it here so that we have some place on the left for the iron plates. And below we will have the piercing rounds. And so on the left it's going to be the output. That way we will directly have half a lane of grenades and half a lane of piercing rounds. So let's put the input for the rounds. We are going to output the rounds here. As you can see, the grenades work well. We are starting to produce them. So we need to take the rounds and take them to the piercing rounds assemblers. It's going to be here. Now we just need to place inserters. Let me select the recipe too. So 2 rounds. Oops, no, this is a piercing round. And paste. While I'm here, I'm also going to put the output inserters. And let's review quickly. Yeah, that should be fine. So now we also need to bring copper and steel. That's going to be for the piercing rounds. So here one lane is going to be for the steel and the other one is going to be for the copper. Here it doesn't matter what you put on the left and what you put on the right. I'm going to put the steel on the left. And then let's take the copper. Good, now we need to merge the lanes, and we need to bring that to the assemblers. Okay, so now we have steel and copper. Let's also bring the power. And what am I doing? Of course the rounds cannot arrive. I need to put them on another belt. So let's change the inserters to long range inserters. And then let's take the rounds to the assemblers. Much better. And now the last piece is going to take the long range inserters so that it feeds the assemblers with rounds. So let's have a look. They should be starting to produce piercing rounds. Yep, pretty good. So now we have 2 of 3 of the components required to produce military science. And the last one is going to be walls. And if I remember correctly, we will just need 2 assemblers. And I am going to place them here. So where are the walls? Of course it's going to be in the combat tab. And I'm going to place the input on the right. No, never mind, I changed my mind. We will have the input on the left and the output on the right. And the output is going to be down this way, and the input is going to arrive from there. And the only thing that is going to be required as input for the walls is going to be stone bricks. And the good thing is that we already have them on the bus. We are probably not producing enough of them at the moment, but that's okay. Supply issues is something that we are going to work on a little later when we are going to start to work on trains. So I need to place underground belts here and take the stone bricks. Alright. We are going to start to work with fluid soon, so the fluid handling research is going to come handy. So now let's see if we can beat walls. Oops, I forgot to power the assemblers. Let's do that. I also need to take the output next to the grenades and the piercing rounds. And let's see how it's going to look. Where am I going to place the assemblers for the military science? I think it's going to be just on the right of this belt, but we will need more space. You know what, I'm going to place them on the left and on the right, so that we save some space. And as a reminder, we will need 18 of them. So 4, 6, 8, and then we are going to put the same amount on the other side. But let me finish this side first. That way we will just need to copy, flip it, and paste it to the other side. So let's place the assemblers. On the left, that's going to be the wall. On the right, we take the grenades and the piercing rounds. And so let's take the walls. Around here, we need to split the belt. Great. And then same thing the other side. Now let's bring the power. Okay, I made a mistake here. I should have put one more space between the assemblers. And you know what? I don't like that, so I'm going to remove everything. And I'm going to place everything again one tile down. I know you don't have to do that, but I just think it's going to be cleaner. So I'm going to first place the pole, and then again I'm going to place 9 assemblers. Good, much better. Let's select the recipe. and then we can start to work on the inserters. We will need some of them on this side for the walls, and then on the other side to take the grenades and the piercing rounds. We also need to take the packs out of the assemblers, so we are going to do that on the left with long-range inserters. And now the last thing we have to do is just to finish the belts. First the belt with the walls, then the belt with the grenades and piercing rounds. And I forgot an inserter here. And now that it's finished, we just have to copy the ore block, flip it and paste it on the other side. Just here. We flip it and then we paste it. So same thing, now we need to build the other side. We are first going to take the walls. And it's at that moment that your French Baboon realized that he effed up. As you can see, I put the unsetters on the wrong side. So I will need to turn them around and then we should start be producing packs. Great. Same thing on the other side. And let's continue to assemble the second part of the setup. Alright, looks good. Now we have one last thing to do, and that's going to take the packs back to the lab. So let's do that. Let's start with the left side. Let's see, I want it until here. And then let's do the other side. At the same time, I can select the next research. What about advanced material processing? It's going to unlock the steel furnace. We can already produce them because we already have steel and stone bricks. And that's going to be a good improvement over the furnaces. They just work 2 times faster than the furnaces. So let me bring the packs to the other side. And then here, I will want the military pack only on one side of the belt. So let's put this belt on the other side and then let's merge them together. Good. And now let's take this belt to the labs. And we are going to need to make some modifications to our labs so that we have enough space to put the long-range inserters. Okay, and so now, as I said, we will need to remove everything because the poles and the lamps are kind of in the way, and that will also be a good opportunity to remove the small poles and to replace them with medium poles. So let's remove everything. Okay, the steel furnace is finished, so now let's start to research the trains. That's going to be a very important research too. And now that we don't have the poles in the way, I can put long-range inserters. And now we just need to put back the poles and the lamps. Great. And so, my dear friends, we have it. We now have a setup with green science, red science, and now military science. While we're here, let's just add some lamps to the setup. As always, it's not something that you have to do, but I do like to do it. It seems I will not have enough of them. Let's produce a little more of them. And that's it, we have our setup. We have also finished the trains, so now the next natural research to do is going to be to unlock the stations. We will want to have that before we start to work with trains. And before we wrap up, let's just have a look and see if everything is working properly. And some of them are not working. And it's because we are lacking walls. So why are we lacking walls? I thought 2 assemblers would be enough. Okay, so the reason is very simple. We need to replace the inserters with fast inserters, and then we should be fine. Wow, even fast inserters are not enough. Not a problem, let's place 2 of them, and now let's have a look. Okay, that's much better. And so that should solve our issue, but I think only temporarily, because we are probably going to use up all our stone bricks very soon. Let's double check our rates. 10 bricks per second, so the yellow belt is enough, but we are probably producing much less stone bricks than that. The continuation of the station is going to be the rail signals. Again, we absolutely want that before we start to work with trains, so let's do that. And now let's double check our stone brick production. Yes, you can see our military science setup required 10 stone brick per second, but we are only producing 2.5 of them. So that means we are restraining our military science setup to 25% at the moment. Unfortunately, we don't have an easy way around that at the moment, because as you can see, we only have a very small stone ore patch. So I could add more furnaces, but that would be useless. We are only going to be able to solve the supply issue once we start to exploit other stone ore patch. And that's going to be something that I start to work on when we are going to start to work with trains. So not now. Let me just fix that here. We were missing some poles here. And that's much better. Before we leave, let me just show you the difference between stone furnaces and steel furnaces. As you can see, steel furnaces are going to craft twice as fast as the stone furnaces, but it's also going to consume coal and produce pollution twice as fast as stone furnaces. So in fact, the only thing it does is make a smelting setup twice as denser as it is. And so effectively, you could play the whole game without using them and being fine, especially knowing that there is a third tier of furnaces that we are going to unlock later. But I do like to use them, so I'm going to place them here to improve our stone brick production. And then that's going to be it for today. I'm also going to try to improve our stone production, but there is nothing much I can do here. It's only going to be marginally better. So in the next episode, we are going to work on the hub. I'm really tired to produce every item by hand, and I want to start to produce all the most common used items automatically. So that's what is coming. And then after, when we have done the hub, we are probably going to start to work on trains. I hope that you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe and to add a like if you would like to see more Factorio content. And see ya!